Friends, welcome back to the last session of the day. While Dr. Malhotra was dealing with the types of research, he dealt only with the types of research based on the purpose. And he dealt with there is basic research which leads to generation of new knowledge. He talked about the applied research, which means studying the existing or trying out the theories, principles generated in the laboratory setting in the field. So you are validating the theories, the principles, or the new knowledge which has been generated through basic research in the field. So that becomes applied research. Or you try to find out solution to the existing problems by applying the newly generated or already existing body of knowledge, that is referred to as applied research. Then he dealt with action research. Action research is the research which is undertaken by a practitioner to solve a local problem. Say a person is working on a lathe machine, and every time he fixes the job or sets up the job breaks. And this is not a problem which is experienced by many others. So the problem may be the fixing is wrong, or the material is not good, or the settings which he sets for the lathe machine, they may not be appropriate. So that is a local problem which can be handled by the person concerned, the practitioner. Likewise, a teacher working in a classroom facing a problem of students not motivated, he has already given you. Students are not able to come to your classes on time, or they are not liking the practical work, or they don't enjoy the seminars which you conduct or organize. So this is a problem which is faced by a single teacher. So the single teacher would like to try out alternate solutions and then come out with the solution to that particular problem. Then he did talk about the evaluation research. So any piece of research which has been carried out, like which is determining the worth or merit of certain phenomena. Say, in your institution, the API scores have now been designed. The promotion will be linked to API score. So somebody is trying to evaluate the criteria set for calculating the API score, that is evaluation research. Somebody, a policy has been implemented and you are trying to evaluate the worth of that policy, like career advancement policy is there, and there are conditions, you have to attend the program. So somebody can take up an evaluation research how far the career advancement conditions are actually helping the faculty to bring changes at the workplace. Evaluation. Or say technical education quality improvement program is going on, under which number of technical institutions are covered. So whether the institutions who are covered under TechTube, they are performing better. So have they brought in certain changes which are desirable? Such kind of research will come under evaluation research. The other terminology he used was you can classify research on the basis of method of research. And when you try to classify, you can use and see there are 5 different types of research. One is historical. Now when I say historical, the term itself means that you would like to study some phenomena which has occurred in the past, and maybe you come to the point how that phenomena has changed over a period of time. Say the computers, they were started in 1980s or 70s. So what change has been there in the computers starting from 70 coming to 2015? You start from the history, that how this idea was conceived, how they developed, what functions they used to perform, what was the kind of material, what was the size, how much the efficiency of that. You start digging out, and then you say whether the supercomputers were at that time. You see a computer, you would like to find out whether this computer is actually a supercomputer of 1970s or 1980s or so on. So when we say, for example, you have religious scriptures available, right? and those have been written. Now you want to check the authenticity of that, whether this particular scripture was written in that era or not. You will use historical tools of historical research, whereby you will test the validity and reliability of the data, information, the kind of ink used, the kind of script used, the kind of paper used, the kind of publishing used, and so on. So in our case, when we take a case of architecture, so building was designed in 1940s, 1950s, and you would like to now come out with the materials, the technology used, the design used, and you go into the nitty-gritty of how at that particular point of time the design was conceived, what materials, and you check the authenticity of that material. That itself is historical research. Then comes descriptive research. The term again is very clear, descriptive. That means anything which tries to explain or describe the existing phenomena. Say for example, you have the manufacturing industry, right, in the region to which you belong, and you would like to see what are the manufacturing processes used by electronics industry in the region. Now this is a study of the simple manufacturing processes in place in the various industries. This is an example of the survey research which can be carried out. Under descriptive there are again three, let me just, इसमें पीछे ही जाना पड़ेगा, यहीं से ही देख लो. Descriptive is explaining the existing processes, existing behavior, existing phenomena, etc., or existing condition. Say I take up a study, which one example I have given. I say how many employees are employed in various industries, large scale, small scale, medium scale, in a particular region or geographical area. It is a simple study of the survey, that is existing conditions in an industry. I would like to know how many industries have actually implemented total quality management systems in the industry. This is a survey type of study where I would like to gather information from large number of industries and then come out the extent of TQM implementation in those industry. This is survey where you try to gather information from large number, and primarily questionnaire is used to gather the information. Then we have another type of research under descriptive is case study. Now you find that CII, AICTE, they have instituted awards for better performing institution. Say College of Engineering Pune, that has been awarded. Now I want to go into the processes, how they are trying to do the admissions, what kind of curriculum they have, what kind of instructional processes are in place in that institute, how they evaluate the performance of student, what kind of faculty is there, how they plan their lessons, how they evaluate students, how they build relationship. So how they build relationship with the industry and how they provide the feedback, how they mentor or guide their students and so on. So my question is not what. I am more concerned with finding an answer to how. And case studies try to give answers to how, why, rather than what, right? And case study, you go deeper into the system. You don't gather information from large number of similar units, but you are gathering data from one single unit, but you are going deeper into the processes and finding answer to why and how of things. Say you can take up a case study of industry, say award-winning industry. The industry which has excelled in its operation. The industry which has large turnover and is profitable venture, and they have export which is more than expected, so it has been recognized for that. So now you want to know how they have gone into exports and how they are managing this system. So you are going deeper into that process. Descriptive research, the third type of research which can be carried out, is referred to as the content analysis. Now here my friend from literature, he was here. He's here, right? He said he has taken up a research in the area of literature. I say as a teacher, there are many areas where you would like to probe into the documents which are available. Say you all as teachers set question papers, right? And I would like to know whether the question paper which you have used is reliable or valid, right? Now, if I have to answer these questions, I need to go into the content analysis of that question paper. Validity is whether the test measures what it intends to measure. And when I say whether the test measures what it intends to measure, that means if in a subject there are 10 topics, whether the test measures or the knowledge in those 10 topics or 7 topics or 6 topics or 5 topics. Wherever the universities, they have external choices. We normally set 8 questions and we ask the candidate to attempt any 5. When the candidate is asked to attempt any 5, the candidate comes prepared with 5 chapters, and it is his luck. If those questions are there, he can score as high as 80 to 85% marks. This we have already taken up studies. And so the leverage is given to the individual. Yes, out of the 10 topics, you can leave any 5. You only come prepared for 5. So he has the knowledge of 5 topics, but he has got 85% marks. That does not mean that he has the knowledge of 85% of the content. So, otherwise, say, I have prepared a handout as a teacher. Now that handout, whether it is adequate, it is appropriate to the level of the learner, whether it uses the examples from day-to-day life and the industry, if I have to do that kind of analysis, I have to go in for content analysis type of research. Management area, say you have the minutes of the meetings. Any meeting which takes place at the institute level, you have the minutes of the meeting. So whether the minutes of the meeting are recorded in a proper manner, if I have to do that, and how much time was spent on the meeting, whether it was adequately or appropriately utilized, if I have to come out with answer to, I need to do the content analysis of the agenda items, then the minutes which have been recorded and the total time taken, maybe I come out with the answer to my question. So content analysis research, or say for example, a novel is there. That novel, I want to see what is the relevance of this Shakespeare in today's context. How it is applicable and how it is appropriate in today's context. This I can do by going through word by word and then categorizing the information out of that novel, how much is the content which is applicable in today's context. So I need to go in for content analysis. So descriptive research explains the existing processes, existing phenomena, existing conditions, and it tries to enable the researcher to describe those conditions. And these can be survey research, case study research, or it can be content analysis research, like a software written by a person. So say you have used C++ language. Now I want to see whether the person has made any mistake in the software or not. This requires content analysis of the software written. Or say a person has developed algorithms. So I need to go step by step and see whether the algorithm has been written in a right manner or not. This is a part of content analysis, right? Then we have correlational research. Correlational research, as the term indicates, ma'am is here. So ma'am, can you explain what do we mean by correlation?
Dependency of two
बैठ के बोलो. Dependency of two things on each other. Okay, so that means whether the two variables are related to each other or not. It is only establishing relationships. Say, I say the students who are in the class who are highly intelligent, they are high achievers. Correlation. But I am not saying that intelligence is the cause for high achievement. I am only saying these two things are related to each other. Say the kind of fuel used in an engine, whether you use a petrol or whether you use a diesel, it will affect the efficiency of the engine. So there is correlation between the petrol, that is the fuel used, and the efficiency of the engine. Or say for example, I am constructing the building. So there is correlation between the material, the concrete used for building, or reinforced concrete used for construction purposes. So the kind of material used and the durability of that building may have a relationship, that what kind of material will be more durable and so on. So there is a relationship between the two. Or I would say the language used to write a software may have a relationship with the effectiveness of the program or efficiency of the program. Say a program written in one language may be executable within 10 minutes. A program written in another language may take half an hour. So there may be correlation between the language used to write a program and the time taken to execute the program. Or in management, we say that there is correlation between the leadership style and the job satisfaction of the people. So these two variables are related to each other. So correlation is when you try to establish the relationship between two or more than two variables, right? Then we have causal comparative research, or it is also referred to as ex post facto research. Anybody who can clarify this term? Ex post facto or causal comparative? Kabhi suna hai? Have come across the term? Ex post facto. That means the cause and effect has already taken place, and now you are trying to establish a probable cause and effect relationship between two variables. For example, now I cannot try out materials. What, say for example, there have been buildings which are constructed. Now you see there is earthquake. One building is intact, another has cracks in it. Cause has already taken place, effect has already taken place. Now I go back and find out the kind of material which was used for constructing these two different types of building. What was the difference in the material or technology used? Was it responsible for the building to be intact or have cracks? Cause and effect has already taken place. Now, similarly, in our colleges, the teachers are with different qualification. Some are B.Tech, some are M.Tech. Now, they are teaching the B.Tech students in the college. B.Tech students are showing certain performance. Now, I can compare the performance of the students, come out with whether the qualification of the teacher has anything to do with the performance of the student. That is, I cannot manipulate this variable. I cannot have separate teachers inducted, but already in place they are teaching, they have taught for a semester, students have shown a performance. Likewise, you have different models, like you have Motorola, you have What else? For micro, ये mobiles में Samsung, you have, हाँ जी, बोलो. All of us are carrying different phones. Sony, okay. So now the technology has been used. People say 3G, 4G, etc., etc. Now I pick up 4 models of different companies. I now try to compare the performance of the mobile phones, and I say which particular technology is performing better than the other. This is where the cause has already been there, the effect has already been there, and you are now taking up a study and trying to establish which particular technology is more favorable to the better performance of that. That is causal comparative study, right? Then we have experimental studies. Experimental research establishes true cause and effect relationship. When I say true cause and effect relationship, that means independent variable is responsible for bringing changes in the dependent variable. Say for example, now you can have, say, gear system, or you have multi-point fuel injection being used in the cars and so on, MPFI, is it? ठीक है, यही यूज कर रहे हैं. तो मैं क्या करती हूँ, एक कार में तो मैंने MPFI सिस्टम लगाया, दूसरी कार में दूसरा सिस्टम पुराने वाला लगाया, and I see and test whether MPFI will be more successful or not, or effective or not. I do this kind of experimenting. I cannot do on the public. So I do the kind of experimentation in the laboratory setting under rigorous controls. Experimental research is with rigorous controls, and I try to find out that MPFI system is more effective or not. Or say for example, a teacher teaching face to face in the class, a teacher teaching through a distance mode or online. So which of these two is effective? So I am trying to, the same teacher is teaching the course through face to face, the same teacher is teaching online, and then I try to see where he is more effective. It is an experimental research. I am using PPTs in the class, but now I think is a time where I can use animation, simulation, and so on in the class. I can enter into virtual classrooms. So whether virtual classrooms are perceived to be more effective than the classroom situation. So if I'm doing this kind of experimental research, then this is covered under experiment, which would establish that teachers, students taught through computer assisted instruction, they perform better than the students taught through face-to-face contact mode or lecture method, which normally is used. So this is experimental research. So you had already the 5 types of research they're covered. Now these are additional 5 types of research, and somebody posed a very relevant question in the previous session: what is the difference between method and methodology? So method is a part of methodology. Methodology is a very broad connotation which covers the whole spectrum of the research process. Now we come to, this was with respect to the morning session where Dr. Malhotra left. Now we will go to that in any research. Hanji, मैनू लब के दो जरा. परमजीत, एक hanji, एदी फाइल किथे गई? ये तो शॉर्टकट रह गया. hanji, ऊपर हैगी? किथे देख आप ही. ठीक है जी. Every researcher needs to review the related literature. Now, if you, Dr. Sunil has dealt with selecting and defining a research problem. Even for selection of a problem, the review has to be carried out. Why it is said related literature? This is the area you have selected only the work which has been carried out in that area you will try to scan through, skim through. Another is, if you have selected a problem, then the variables which form part of that problem, you will try to review the relevant literature, the earlier research which has been carried out, right? And there are many sources which we tap when we review the related literature. So in this session, I'm going to focus on what do we understand by this review of related, which we have already discussed. What are the purposes which are served by review of related literature? What are the sources of review of related literature? Then how to review a particular literature. This will be the focus of my discussion. So before I deal with it, all of you very experienced people, so give me the reasons why review of related literature is carried out. Why? Why do we go for review of related literature? Okay. Okay. For clarity of the problem. So clarification of the problem is one. Okay. Any other reason? Thank you. Hanji, any other?
Enhance the knowledge on that particular topic.
Enhance knowledge. Okay. So what is the status of the past research? कहीं duplication तो नहीं हो रही है? Okay. और कुछ? Yes. Okay. So what is the right way or method of doing or carrying out or undertaking the research? Okay.
To know the gaps between two.
हाँ, अभी आ गए हो. ठीक है. To identify the research gaps in the research which has already been carried out, because unless and until, as he rightly said, I'm not going to repeat the kind of research which has been done by earlier researcher. So something where the gap exists, I would like to fill in that or bridge that gap that exists, right? So some novel solution, some bridging the gap, then my contribution will be significant in the field of research. Okay, any other purpose of research? Chandigarh University, would you like to participate or left? चले गए होने, चले गए, है ना? हाँ जी, would you like to give response for that? Chandigarh University would like to participate? जी, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਿਚਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਾਈਕ ਚੁੱਕਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ. जी, quick answer. दे रहे हैं.
Hello.
हाँ जी मैम.
Hello, good evening, ma'am.
हाँ जी, good evening.
Hello, ma'am. Actually, all the faculty members are leaving.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You can listen to this lecture on YouTube later on. So friends, when we say any other point which you would like to make out from this group, कहना चाहेंगे कुछ? No answer. Okay. When we say review of related literature, it actually involves, क्या involve करता है? Identification of related literature. There may be thousands and thousands of journals available, and there may be thousands of dictionaries or encyclopedias or research theses available, and it is very easy that we have now internet facility and you can access. But to identify the right source is very important. And what is relevant to your research? Say for example, I am doing research in electrical engineering, but under that I'm using semiconductors and so on. कुछ ऐसी मेरी research है. Now there may be a journal which is specifically dedicated to semiconductors rather than electrical engineering. So my first source should be the journal in semiconductors rather than going in a broader way to the electrical engineering. So it involves identification of the relevant source, location of that source. Many people find it difficult because now everybody is accustomed sitting at home, just going through the internet, getting the material, and we don't spend time in the libraries. But earlier when we did research, there was no internet facility available, and we had to go to the library, search out the journals and the reference material and the books and the other things, and then we have to find out where they were placed in the library. So location. Abhi aapko bhi location hai, whether a search engine would help you, whether going to ASCII would help you, or whether you are going to the Springer and that will give you the journal which you are looking for. So you need to know where that source is available. Is it in the library? Is it available in the print form or in the digital form? Even all the material is not available in digital form. And analysis of documents. It requires complete reading of the material. And you will agree with me, when we take up research nowadays, what our students are doing MTech dissertations. They go to the journal and the abstract is written on the first page of that article. They don't have the time to go through the total article. They just cut and paste and they bring it. Okay, ma'am, this is the review of related literature. And we are very good in generating chronological review of related literature. When I say chronological review of related literature, we start from 71, go to 75, go to 80, go to 82, 85, 92, 93, 95, 99, then 2000, 2002, 2004, 2005, 6, the chronological representation of the review of related literature. This doesn't involve any effort on the part of the researcher. It is simply we are doing cut, copy and paste. And the student, when probed what exactly this research is all about, he has no answers to the question. When you go deeper, which variables, what kind of analysis was carried out? He can only tell you this was the final result. He cannot tell you the steps which were followed. So the people have very shallow knowledge of the research paper for which they are including their abstract in the review of related literature. Then documents containing related to the research problem. And then the story doesn't end here. You need to synthesize the whole information in a manner which is understandable to the person. अब मैं आपको एक सीधी सी बात बताऊंगी. Taking up an example of the social sciences. We take up studies, and maybe I said we can take up a study on the leadership style and job satisfaction. What a person will do, first review the literature on leadership, what different styles are used by leaders, then go to what kind level of job satisfaction the people enjoy, then come to the third parameter, leadership and job satisfaction. The whole thesis is on relationship between leadership and job satisfaction. So the studies have to be on leadership and job satisfaction rather than leadership style and job satisfaction. Another is very good at chronological ordering the things without drawing any conclusions. हम तो conclusions भी draw नहीं करते. Just 10 studies मिली, 20 studies मिली, इसको present कर देते हैं, and then we see the face of the other individual. अब इसको क्या करना है, इसका क्या फायदा हुआ, and that is not available unless and until you draw conclusions on the basis of review of related literature. So ये तो gaps हैं जो हमारे review of related literature में है, but the literature review serves number of purposes, and you can see that the very purpose is what has been already done. तो इनका point बड़ा valid है कि the research which has already been carried out, the researcher need not duplicate that kind of research. उसमें कोई तो change आनी चाहिए. Another is that we would like to provide a base necessary to develop a logical framework into which the topic fits. जो मेरा research area है वो कहाँ fit हो रहा है, ठीक है? So that I'll find out. Then provide the rationale for hypothesis. And in the morning, Dr. Malhotra has very beautifully clarified this term hypothesis. What are these? These are tentative or probable solution to the problems. So if you are seeing that the fuel used in an engine affects the efficiency of the engine, that means petrol, then I come to whether petrol engine would be more efficient than the diesel engine or the vice versa. So I come out with the probable answer to the solution. So when you try to review the related literature, it gives you insight into the solution to the problem which you have selected. Fine. Then you see, Madam has very rightly said, it doesn't only give you the problem area, it doesn't tell you about the hypothesis, but it also guides you, gives direction how the research needs to be planned and conducted. So the whole methodology, whether it is going to be experimental setup, whether it is going to be a descriptive study, if it is going to be experimental, then are you going to use the simple randomized design, or are you going to the repeated measures where the same sample is subjected to different experimental conditions, right? So it is guiding you which particular methodology of research will be more suitable to planning and carrying out a research. It also guides you what kind of tools can be used. Is it the observations which you will be making on the machine? Can you use a questionnaire? Then what should be the focus of the questions which can be posed to the person who is responding to? That is sample. Like, say for example, the people here in this department of ETV, Dr. Patnaik was already heading that, and he has taken up a study on that we all use mobile phones. How these mobile phones are, when they are kept in the pocket or here, how they are affecting the blood pressure, the pulse rate of the individual, and the health indices of the individual. So they have brought variation in those parameters and seen the effect of the placement of the mobile phone on the person. So such type of studies, when there is some literature which is available, which already says that it has adverse effect on the health. So what are those parameters on which it has adverse health? It guides you in selection of the parameters also. And you can also see whether it will be relationship study or whether an experimental setup needs to be done for establishing a cause and effect relationship. So it gives you true picture of what needs to be done, right? And likewise, you can see here, it is only, when you take up research, you are identifying, somebody said, we try to identify the gaps in the existing research. That means it is helping you in bridging that gap. So you have justification for undertaking the research. You can see here it is written, or it helps you in building the rationale for the study. Then rest of the thing is methodology. Once you carry out the research, the review of related literature also helps you in interpreting the results. Because if you have found the relationship, whether the earlier research corroborates to the relationship or whether it goes against, that means the results of this study do not match the result of the earlier studies, then you need to put reasoning why it is not the same as found in earlier study. So you have analysis and interpretation of the results get facilitated with if you have actually gone in for the research. Then the review of related literature, you see the very first point. There are many theoretical propositions made by the people in the books. So even when you read through a book, there is a theoretical proposition which has been there in the literature. So you are prompted to take up a research whereby you establish, validate the relationships, validate the principles which are available in the books. So you can use that It also enables you to raise few questions on the basis of reading. So it serves, the review of related literature serves number of purposes. Now I'll not, ये क्या हो गया, पीछे क्यों जा रहे भाई? The literature review, when you have to conduct, it passes through 4 stages. वो 4 stages कौन सी हैं? How can you streamline the review of related literature? The very first one is you identify the keywords in your problem statement. Now, for example, if I was to take up, say, implementation of TQM in manufacturing industry, say this was my study. Here, TQM is one important keyword, manufacturing industry is another keyword, implementation is another keyword. So that means I have identified 3 keywords in my research problem, implementation, किस चीज की, TQM की, and it's in which manufacturing industry. So it will help me whenever I go to the internet, if I enter implementation of TQM, number of researches would be, or if I just enter TQM, I'll get number of studies. Say if I go to Google Scholar and I put this with PDF, so it gives me number of articles which are there with respect to the implementation of TQM or TQM. Then identifying sources, because when we go to review of related literature, there are primary sources of information, there are secondary sources of information. Primary source is the one which is written by the researcher himself, and you try to lay hand upon that. Say thesis. Thesis is a primary literature. But a thesis ka abstract, somebody is quoting in the research article, becomes a secondary source, right? So person can tap large number of resources or sources of information, both primary and, I'll come to that. The next step is, once you go to the source, you abstract the information. And the fourth one is analyzing, organizing, and reporting the literature. Let's see how do we go about. इसी को ही आगे आ जाओ. अब देखिए, identifying keywords. So I've given you the example. Now go to the identifying sources. So I said there can be primary source, there can be secondary source. There can be opinion of the people, just opinion they have expressed. Other case may be where they have gathered empirical data. They have collected data and then on the basis of data, they come to certain conclusion. जैसे मैं बोलती हूँ, आज के youngsters, they don't have any value system. Journal, एक statement दे दी, एक opinion दे दी. But how many of us have really gone and studied the value system of the youngsters? They have also a value system which may be different from mine. But ये नहीं कह सकते कि उनका आजकल value system ही नहीं है. It's a very broad, shallow statement which has been made. Or somebody is saying that semiconductor material is better for creating chips. ठीक है? अब एक ये होता है कि नहीं? Chips किसकी बनती है? मुझे नहीं पता, आपका एरिया है. ठीक बात है? Okay. So say I make this statement. लेकिन a person who is empirically verified is more weighted opinion than a person like P.K. Tulsi making a statement who has not gathered any data, who has no evidence to show. Where is the evidence? So you are going by the empirical evidence or you are going by the opinion. Yes, opinion of the people who have credibility in the field really matters. A person, say Einstein आ जाए, Newton आ जाए, उसने कुछ बोला, तो आप उसको वेट करोगे, दोगे. But a person like P.K. Tulsi, you will not give any weight to that opinion. So आपको, when you are trying to search out the sources, अब देखिए आप लोगों ने जिन्होंने प्रोजेक्ट किया या रिसर्च की, व्हाट आर द सोर्सेज व्हिच यू हैव टैप्ड? सर आपसे ही शुरू कर लेती हूँ. मे आई नो योर नेम? ज्ञानेश्वर प्रसाद. ओके, बोलिए जी.
Ma'am, different articles, books.
Okay.
You said the related literature.
रिलेटेड लिटरेचर में तो यही कुछ और भी और कहा क्या चीजें टैप की थी?
Articles online as well as
ओके
and books.
ओके
Then some political books also.
ओके
People,
ओके.
sometimes some newspapers.
Newspaper items also. Okay. Anybody else who would like to share what kind of sources were tapped when you went for review of related literature?
Research
Thank you.
paper, patents,
Okay.
books.
Hmm. Fine. Thank you so much. So you can see here a list of the sources of information which can be tapped. Any terminology which we pick up, the best meaning which we can arrive at, simple words, layman's language, the dictionary. And there are different types of dictionaries. Even a medical dictionary is available, scientific term dictionary is available, and so on. So a person can start by having a meaning. What is the meaning given in the dictionary, and then how this term is interpreted in a particular field. You have thesauruses. What is a thesaurus?
Synonym.
Okay, synonyms. So sometimes, say I have used the word total quality management. I go to the thesaurus. I try to find out, is there any synonym which can be or interchangeably used with TQM? Is there any term? So if I include that, maybe I have large number of articles appearing on the web, or maybe I have large articles available in the journals which I am serving. Then you can go to the indexes. Index क्या करता है? आप जानते होंगे इंडेक्स. इंडेक्स तो समझते हैं. इंडेक्स क्या होता है? Listing of the research which has been carried out. So you can check the indexes. This is the secondary source where you get only the information whether a research article on this particular topic has appeared or not. And if it has appeared, which is the source where it has been published. And from the index, you select and then go to the primary source. Then you can go to the encyclopedia. Encyclopedia और book में क्या अंतर है? आप कहते हो ना encyclopedia, बच्चों को भी लेके देते हो, birds का, science का, technology का. हाँ जी.
It's covering all the.
Okay.
Concentrating on a particular topic, but encyclopedia covers all the related factors.
Okay.
All the related aspects.
Encyclopedia gives you the whole spectrum of that topic, starting with historical development, going to the research which has been carried out, what is the current status of that in today's context. So it is giving you the overview of how this concept has developed and what is the latest connotation attached to the concept, and then what research has already and where the gaps. So encyclopedia tries to clarify those things. Then books depends upon whether the book is a kind of having a logical relationship among the chapters and written by a single author or two authors, or it is a collection of chapters by different authors. So if you have collection, the thread is missing from one chapter to another. But if it is written by one author, there is a continuity in the development of the theme. So books are a great source of information, and books, if they are originally and you are tapping that and the author book, it's a primary source of information and expressing the views of the author. But if it's collection of papers from various sources, it becomes secondary source of information. Abstract, abstract तो समझते हैं क्या होता है abstract? Gist. So What kind of technique? Suppose कर लीजिए मुझे डिक्शनरी में से सेमीकंडक्टर का मीनिंग ढूंढना है. Which technique I use in finding out the term? क्या करती हूं मैं? हाँ, तो मैं स्कैन करती हूँ. I am looking for the word formation. I use the technique of scanning. अगर सपोज कर लीजिए एक पूरे चैप्टर में मुझे सेमीकंडक्टर्स ढूंढना है, आई एम लुकिंग फॉर सेमी एस स्ट्रक्चर आई एंड देन कंडक्टर सी एंड आर एंड डी जो प्रोमिनेंट बन जाते हैं एंड आई एम एबल टू लोकेट द टर्म. दिस इज रेफर टू एज स्कैनिंग. जैसे ब्रेन की स्कैनिंग होती है ना, तो ब्लड क्लॉट ढूंढना है तो यू डू द स्कैनिंग. इसी तरह अगर न्यूज़पेपर में मुझे ये ढूंढना है कि आज कितनी बार हरियाणा अपीयर हुआ ऑन द वेरी फर्स्ट पेज और यूपी अपीयर हुआ ऑन द वेरी फर्स्ट पेज, so I'm not going through each and every line and so on. I'm looking to the structure of the word and that is the term used as scanning. लेकिन अब जब मुझे एब्स्ट्रैक्ट बनाना है किसी का, ये तो अभी बनाना नहीं है, but I'm just giving you कि एब्स्ट्रैक्ट we refer. Abstract means that abstract is given by somebody. It's a secondary source, right? Or the author has published the abstract in the conference proceeding. अब वो abstract क्या है? It is a gist which is trying to give you an idea of why the research was taken up, how the research was taken up, what question it answered, and what are the final answers to those questions. यही तो होता है. So abstract. So we refer to abstracts and then research reports and thesis. Research reports and thesis, these are the primary sources of information. अब ऑथर ने लिखी है, आपने थीसिस किसी का पढ़ना है, ज्ञानेश्वर जी ने एक थीसिस लिखा. So I go to the library, I study the thesis, it's a primary source of information. But then he has also included cross-referencing. If I use his words, they become secondary source for me. But if I go to the original source and go to the nitty-gritty of that article, then it becomes primary source for me. So you have research reports and theses which are written by the earlier researchers. They become the source of information. Then you have references and bibliographies, right? So you can see where the article has been published and then you can go to the original source of that article. हम बहुत लोग original source पे जाते ही नहीं है. Say he has written an article, उसमें इन्होंने 10 लोगों को refer किया था. I pick up those references and I show that I have read those 10 references and include in my research article. Plagiarism तो है ही है ना, बहुत है ना.
एग्जैक्टली वही बता रहे थे वो कर रहे हैं.
मैं भी तो उसी कैटेगरी में आ रही हूँ. आई एम नॉट डिफरेंट. सो एनोटेटेड बिब्लियोग्राफी और बिब्लियोग्राफी में क्या अंतर है बोलो. आप सब जानते हो एनोटेटेड बिब्लियोग्राफी, सुना टर्म, सुनी है जी एनीबडी. Annotated bibliography is not only giving you the reference where the article has published, but it gives you in nutshell what it contains, right? So it gives you a brief idea about what the article is all about. So if you find it relevant, you can go to the original article. If you find it is irrelevant to what you are doing, you can just leave that. Okay? Then we have journals. So journals, they are the sources of current research which is going on in any area. ठीक है. तो जर्नल्स आपको हमेशा जो आज हो रहा है 2015 में 2014 में क्या हुआ है, they are giving you the current status of your research in that particular area. Then review in journals and compiled works. So somebody is giving, कई बार दे देते हैं ना review of a book, देते हैं ना review of a book. In the end page of the journal also appears review of a book by the editor or some other member of the editorial board, and they give you whether this book is all about the contents covered, and then they give you whether it is a good book or relevant book to be read or not. So they evaluate that work. So those can also be source of information for you. Then compiled works. Somebody is only concerned with कि सेमीकंडक्टर के एरिया में कितनी रिसर्च हो गई एंड उसने आसपास के सारे कॉलेजेस में जितनी रिसर्च है उनका ब्रीफ बना के आपको एक कंपाइल्ड कंसोलिडेटेड वर्क दे दिया. जैसे हम लोगों ने अभी ग्लिम्पसेस ऑफ रिसर्च, व्हाटएवर रिसर्च हैज बीन कैरिड आउट इन निटर, उसके एक वॉल्यूम निकाला था, एक अभी पेंडिंग रह गया. बट इंफॉर्मेशन वी कंसोलिडेट द एब्स्ट्रैक्ट what research has been, that is consolidated or compiled work of that. Then you have collective work. Collective works are like I am from India. I have done a lot of work in competencies of computer science students. What competencies are expected of the computer science graduates? Somebody in Italy, he has also done that. Somebody in Germany has done that. So they are bringing forth a publication which gives all the 6 or 5 case studies of India, Germany, Italy, Japan, etc., etc. That's collective work. Or maybe a person is working in one university, another person is working in another university, or maybe a part of a problem is dealt by one team of 2 members, another part is dealt by another 2 members, and they come out with publication. That is a collective work. So today you don't have only the institution teams, national teams, but you have international teams working on different projects and coming out with research. So all these sources of information, you can see I just tried to get some of these, but these sources of information are important. So you need to refer to IEEE, आप सब रेफर कर रहे होंगे. Springer, you must be referring. ASCII, you must be referring, and so on. Depending upon your area of interest and specialization, you might be referring to these sources of information. अब जब ये सारा कुछ आप कर लेते हैं, सोर्स आपने, अब देखो, अब जो आपके सोर्सेज हैं, जब आप कोई भी टर्म यूज करते हो, एंड और नॉट का प्रयोग कर सकते हो. ठीक है, एंड कब करते हैं? टू ब्रॉडन द एरिया ऑफ रिसर्च. और का कब प्रयोग करते हैं? व्हेन दे आर द सिमिलर वर्ड्स. नॉट का कब प्रयोग करते हैं? व्हेन वी डोंट वांट दैट दिस टर्म बी इंक्लूडेड इन द रिव्यू. सो व्हेन यू आर सर्चिंग फॉर अ पर्टिकुलर कीवर्ड, यू कैन यूज एंड और नॉट. ठीक है, नैरोइंग एंड फोकसिंग बाय डेट ऑफ पब्लिकेशन. अब देखिए क्या हो रहा है. अभी आपके केस में भी मैंने वी हैव सीन फ्यू थीसिस, एमटेक डिसर्टेशंस व्हिच आर अवेलेबल. वो क्या कर रहा है उसने, अब एक स्टडी 70 की है, एक 80 की है, 3-4 90s की हैं. तो क्या 70, 80s में just one study was taken up? So this question is bothering the person who is evaluating that dissertation. So a researcher can always qualify that the person is trying to make or carry out a review from 95 onwards till date. पिछले 10 सालों में जितना काम हुआ है उसको रिव्यू कर रहे हैं. उससे पहले जो काम हुआ है वी आर नॉट बॉदर्ड. तो क्या हुआ, आपने डेट ऑफ पब्लिकेशन से आपको लिमिट कर लिया, एंड देन यू आर ट्राइंग टू, क्योंकि there are thousands and thousands of studies sometimes available in your area. Nobody has the time, resources, money to go in for this exhaustive analysis of the research. So you need to zero down. अगर आपको authors का कुछ idea, who are the people who have already worked in, title का पता है, you can always narrow down your search by that. Then आपका देखिए, अब सोर्सेज आपने बहुत सारे आपके सोर्सेज हैं. These are few examples. You have the handout. All these is available. लेकिन इंजीनियरिंग एंड टेक्नोलॉजी में आई हैव यूज्ड एजुकेशन एज माय बेसिक फील्ड. लेकिन आप अपने एरिया में यू कैन आइडेंटिफाई दीज सोर्सेज. जैसे कि मैंने आपको दे दिया है, IEEE है, स्प्रिंगर है, आस्की है. ऐसे ही आपका मैकेनिकल की जो ACM है, कुछ ASME, राइट. एक सिविल की ऐसे ही है, So you have different organizations working, उनको भी आप यूज कर सकते हैं. एंड जब आप सर्च करते हैं सर्च इंजन्स आपके